Well, I'm so happy to welcome my next guest, Eleanor Lyons. Eleanor is a wonderful singer. You're Australian, but you have been based in Europe for quite a while now. But as far as I know, now you're in Sydney.
Well, it was actually amazing that it happened like this because I just finished the first time singing with Opera Australia, my hometown in Sydney. And I just finished 13 performances, which is also amazing now that everything is completely finished.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just happened to be in Australia, and my husband, Vova, he actually left to go and perform in Turkey. And 2 days into rehearsals, they told him it's cancelled. And he had to make this decision what to do. And he came straight back to Australia. That's why we're still here. So actually, It's really weird. We've never spent this long in Australia in 13 years.
Wow. What was your last project? What did you sing?
It was Don Giovanni.
Oh, beautiful.
And I was singing Donna Anna. And for me, it was really just so satisfying in my soul because it's my hometown. And basically everybody I know came to see me sing, and for many of them it was the first time that they actually could see me perform.
Right.
So and we were, I had many plans after this to go to Belgium and to come to Hungary to play with you, and it just all went and we're still here. But it's nice to spend time with family as well. The lockdown, what was it like in Hungary?
Everything is a bit delayed here. So in a way, in some other countries, Germany, even France now, they are slowly over this. Here, we don't really know.
The reason I'm also asking is because I was thinking about you, and both of your parents are musicians.
Yes.
And you. So it must be kind of hard to practice.
My parents bought a house a few years ago in the suburbs of the capital. So we are extremely lucky because we have a lot of space. Everyone has their own space to practice. We have a garden, so we are not like...
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. I mean, if we were still living in that small apartment in the center of the city, we would have gone mad already, for sure. You are such a versatile performer. I saw you sing Mimi. I saw you and True Love also in Stravinsky Rake's Progress. We played together Mahler 4 in a chamber music version.
Yeah,
and,
that's beautiful.
Burial folk songs, you sing Liederabend. We were supposed to realize this Shostakovich project. So tell me, what's your favorite?
I started singing a lot of music theatre. Come from a family which is musical but not so learned in classical music. So my family never listened to any classical music at all. So I started in this musical theatre, and a lot of that is like acting on stage. So for me, like the natural thing is to move and to sing and, be really free. So then I get to the conservatorium and they're like, stand in front of the piano. Okay, I'll stand in front of the piano. What do I do? I think the most difficult thing is actually the Liederabend because it's so intense, high grade. It's like a diamond, it's like the most amazing diamond. It takes ages to polish.
And a lot of pressure.
You can't just show the diamond on the street. You have to come into a really nice jewelry shop and they take you to the back and they have this really nice table and it's all dark and everything. And then they show you this beautiful diamond. And that's what a recital's like for me. And I think it's very difficult. It's really challenging, but you can really show something special.
You have to be open to try all these things. I mean, some people say, no, I only want to sing operas. And even in that genre, my only dream is to sing Mimi.
The voice is so versatile.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting instrument because it's so personal and it's so connected with your emotions. All instruments are, but the voice, even if you think you sound one way, if you're feeling another way, they will be able to hear it. Oh, it's like standing up naked in front of people. And because of that, I actually really like unaccompanied songs as well. The voice is something that helps you achieve that versatility, is what I'm saying. Because you can use it in so many different ways. You know, when you're in a huge concert hall, or if you're in a small lounge room, you know, you can use it differently.
Of course, I mean, you need also different techniques, I imagine. It's different to give a Liederabend in a small chamber hall and different to think through.
Well, yeah, and I'd be interested to hear if it's the same with the cello, but when you really need the power and projection, you sometimes sacrifice this for some expression.
Concertos where we have to deal with a big orchestra, and you know, today all the orchestras sound very powerful.
Huge. I know, tell me about it.
Yeah. So of course you have to come through. I mean, that's as simple as that. But today somehow I think too many people are concerned or busy with just this topic to produce
just the sound production. I totally agree.
Well, not just the sound production in producing the sound. I mean, producing the sound and working on your sound, I think, is also a technique. And I was so surprised, actually, during my younger years, especially here in Hungary, when cello teachers were talking about technique. They only talked about, you know, being able to play fast and play in tune. And for me, sound production is also a technique. You have to work on it. But what I meant is more like, I think too many people are concerned only about the volume of the sound. So who can play, you know, really loud on the cello is a great soloist. And I think that's not enough for me.
It's the same in singing. And unfortunately what happens, especially in operas, is that it just ends up being a screaming match. And you can't even hear anyone. You're just, you know. And it's really not nice to listen to, for especially like Wagner, listening for 5.5 hours to people just banging on, you know.
I think we lost so much charm and humor. We are too busy that it has to sound perfect and it has to sound loud.
Maybe with this whole, you know, COVID-19 thing, maybe something that might come out of it is that we end up doing more chamber music. For instance, in Australia, there's just not that many places to do chamber music, and people don't know about it. And it's not really something that a lot of people go to or would think of doing. But now that we can't have these huge halls full of people and have big orchestra, you know, wouldn't that be, I'd love to do more chamber music and like recitals and things like that. It's so much, it can almost be with a lot more music making, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's book the Sydney Opera House for our Shostakovich project.
I sang in this hall, you know, and it was so humongous. I got on the stage, Ildiko, and I nearly peed my pants because I thought, how the hell am I going to sing and like be heard? And apparently by volume, it's even like bigger than the Met.
Wow.
It's crazy.
It certainly has something also from medieval cathedrals for me. I mean, some concert halls, like how they are built is kind of that you feel very small. It's our worship to music kind of thing. I have a quote from Robert Schumann for today.
Yes.
He said, a lot can be learned from singers, but do not believe everything they tell you.
I could say the same about cellists. Yeah, I kind of agree. You know, I've always felt there was a special relationship between singing and string playing.
Yeah.
And it's to do with the bow and the breath, I think.
Yes.
And when I want to try and figure something out, I often try and like bow something.
It's so often, you know, we are so busy with our techniques. But then I just put away the cello and go to the shower and sing sing it in the shower. And it's like an epiphany. Like, oh, that's how I actually should play it. I want to ask you more about breathing, because I think we are so uninformed.
First of all, you are an expert in breathing. You've done it since you were born, and you're doing it very well because you're still here. So that's a good start. The second thing to remember with breathing is to not stop doing it. And I know that sounds really stupid, but actually, you know, when you're doing singing, especially if you're doing things like Mozart or Verdi or these things where you just need very, very long line, what can happen is you start to and it's like your breath gets higher and higher and higher.
Yes.
So you just need to relax when you breathe as a singer. Is that the way that you breathe in can actually affect the position that you use your like muscles in. So when I breathe in, if you take something that smells nice, so like the top of a perfume bottle or a flower or something, and you breathe out and then breathe in and smell whatever you're holding. So, and what happens is it all lifts up and your whole face lifts. And what that actually does is it puts the little tiny bones and muscles inside your ear into a really good position for conduction of sound. There was a wonderful doctor, an ear, nose, throat doctor called Dr. Tomatis. And his dad was a baritone. He was a singer. And he treated a lot of singers who were having problems with their voices. He found that it was a problem with their ear. So that's a really good start, is to breathe in properly and have your ears in the right position. The other important thing about it, so firstly is breathing in, but the second one is about how you hold your body. The difference between, this is me sort of sitting normally, just, you know, slouching. But when I sing, that's how I'll stand. Yeah. I don't know if you can see the difference between like this and this. And the difference is that there's this little sternum underneath here. Yeah. Sorry about my operatic boots right now.
We will put 18 to this video.
Yeah. Rib cage meets.
Yeah.
If you imagine there's like a big hook underneath there and it pulls you up a bit. Yeah. So your shoulders come back. And what that does is it changes the angle that your diaphragm actually breathes at, and it gives it much more space and flexibility. You can do any exercise you want. It depends on what your goal is. What would you like to achieve with the breathing?
Well, it got better, but I had to realize a few years ago, whenever I was stressed, my breathing became quite loud when I played. And then it was a certain vicious circle, because during the performance, I started realizing that I'm breathing very loudly, and that started to disturb me. And then I got even more stressed. Why my breathing is so loud? Yeah. Exactly. Of course, we get very emotional. We play with a lot of energy, and it does affect our breathing.
Question. Was it on the inhale or on the exhale?
I think more on the exhales, with also what you said, that your breathing just comes here.
Yeah. Well, and also if you tense your throat, like it comes out with that noise. If you sit upright, I mean, I'm not sure as a cellist, you know, you have to have a certain posture. Yeah. But yeah, if you do give your diaphragm a bit more space just by keeping your sternum up and buoyant, then that might help. There's some good jaw ones. So you can go yeah. So
right. It looks amazing.
To do with your jaw.
Yeah.
And then
getting your tongue really loose. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
So you're going yeah, 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 but just with your tongue. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Looks so difficult.
It's just to isolate.
Right.
And you get your jaw really loose. And you know what would be really interesting, Ildiko,
Yes.
is if you did that, you go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you play, if you played something with your jaw and your tongue and your throat that relaxed, if it actually affected your sound, like your hands and your arms.
Well, I do consciously relax my neck a lot. Because so the normal cellist posture is always that our head is, you know, a bit like this.
Tipped over, yeah.
So it's already a block, actually.
It is, yeah, it's true.
And so many cellists are making the neck like tense here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't.
That must affect everything, no?
Yeah, of course. Everything is connected to everything.
Yeah, it's really important. I actually wear a little retainer. It's like a little, it's almost like a mouth guard. Because I find that if I wear it in the morning, I haven't been tensing all night. And it actually allows my mouth to open more.
Okay.
And when you have to sing very high notes, that's kind of important. To be able to take a breath in, you have to breathe out first. So some people forget that and they sort of go like, and the problem is you'll just breathe up here. So the best way to do it is to go, and then what the next step is to imagine that you just let everything drop. Yeah. So often what I ask my students to do is I get them to lean over like this, and I put my hand on their tummy, and I go like this, and I shake it around, and I get and they're always, they're so tense, and I'm like, just let it drop into my hand, relax. And you know, sometimes it can take people like 5 minutes to actually really truly relax their stomach. And the thing is, unless you have relaxed those muscles, there's nowhere for the diaphragm to come down. Right. Actually, that was the last thing I was going to say about breathing. It's a very specific feeling when you have your diaphragm like extended. So the diaphragm goes down. And then it comes up when you're breathing out. And then when you breathe in, it goes back down again, and then it comes back up. The Italians have this word which is appoggio. Yes. And that means to lean. You're not pushing your diaphragm. That's not good, and it doesn't sound good, and it doesn't feel good. But it's like leaning on it. It's like, imagine if you lean on your couch, or you lean on your wall, or you lean on your boyfriend or whatever. It's just a feeling of applying weight without force. The higher you sing, or the more like intense that you have to sing, louder or whatever, or higher, the more you need to lean. And that's really it. So I know you'll be doing amazing crescendi in the shower. That should be the closing credit of this video, is you like, in the shower.
And I really have to put the 18. Yeah. You're not singing a whole opera in the same posture. You act, you move.
Donna Anna, she comes on and she's always like crying. She's always like, oh my God, my father's dead. Or like, get off me, don't touch me, I'm mourning. You know, she's like constantly crying. And I found that, you know, the director was like, I need to see more on your face, you know. And my whole face was just going down and down and down. And then my position was also going down, down, down. And it was really hard. Yeah. So it does affect you. And it must affect you guys as well. Does it or not? Like,
I mean, we don't really move around as much as you do.
But you don't get on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. In some operas, you are dead already for 15 minutes and you still have to sing. So in the recent years, I also started to play songs or do arrangements. Some Brahms songs, Debussy even. the fire. And I find it just so fascinating because I don't have the text. And you can do so much with the text, like where you put the accents, how you pronounce words. And then, of course, each language is super different if you sing in Italian or German or Russian.
Yeah, very different.
I know you speak fluent Russian and, of course, English. Is there any language you don't speak but have to sing in it?
I was lucky because when I was a teenager, I lived in Italy. So I speak Italian. And because of that, Spanish is easier and French is easier. And because I speak English, German is a bit easier. And I speak Russian, and that means like whenever I sing in Czech, it's also a lot easier. Every language has its own flavor. I actually personally believe that you can really only bring out the true meaning of all the words if you speak the language. Because, you know, different words in different languages mean different things, even if they're the same word. You speak many different languages. I'm sure that some words in Hungarian, they're so much more charming and they mean so much more to you than when you say them in English.
Yeah, or I mean, there are also certain topics, for instance. Even though in some topics, I would say my German is more advanced than my English, I do feel more comfortable sharing in English.
That's why I don't like singing translations.
Right.
I don't even know why they bother really putting them in books anymore, because no one ever does them. And then I have to spend hours, you know, whiting them out because I find them really distracting. But yeah, every language, I think you need to taste it. You know, like we lived in France for a while, and we lived in Germany and Russia and England and all these different places. And when you've been there and you've tasted the food and you've seen how people live and what's important to them, and I don't know, breathe the air, and I don't know, it sounds really wishy-washy, but it just helps you when you go to speak the language to just feel it the way they feel it.
I absolutely agree. And even though I don't have a text to deal with, of course.
You can feel it in the music. You can feel the flavor.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you ever actually sang in Hungarian?
Not really, but I love Hungarian. I miss hearing Hungarian. We spent a lot of time in Hungary, and I feel like it's sort of like a second home for me, strangely. And like the Hungarian State Opera, that's just like, it will always feel to me like my operatic home, because I performed there, you know, early on. And even the smell of the place, I hope the renovations don't take away the smell. We were rehearsing the Rake's Progress for 6 weeks, I think it was, because it was a new production. I heard so much Hungarian because of that, and I always remember but you know, it's like got a really special rhythm, just like Hungarian food is just so spicy and delicious and
fat. I mean, it's so often exaggerated in feelings, and also the food, because of that, it's just
like
more tafel on it, you know. Yes. So often, you know, they tell me, you know, you are so emotionally, you're so emotional, and you're so emotional.
Isn't that great for music? That's all music is. If you can have not just this much, but you know, like this much emotional range, then that's wonderful.
Yes.
It's just hard for anyone who lives with you.
I spent a few days, beginning of March, with Alfred Brendel in London.
Oh, wow,
and
cool.
This time he told me that I should have a Mozart masterclass with Irmgard Seefried. Do you know her?
No. Is she a singer?
She is a singer and contemporary and colleague of Schwarzkopf. I heard now so many songs by Mozart and arias of her, and I think it's so amazing. And I'm so shocked that I didn't hear about her at all. And then now I'm even more shocked. Exactly.
You know what? You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was actually listening today. I have to learn in more detail the Marriage of Figaro, because I'm going to perform it next year. And I was listening to all the different people, and for me, the most amazing Mozart singer was Gundula Janowitz. She was just incredible, and I listened to everybody sing Porgi Amor, and she was so by far the best. So I really want to hear this singer now.
It made me question about style when I hear string players from the 50s, however beautiful and incredibly musical, and the phrasing is amazing and genius, and the articulation. I mean, the articulation today is almost lost. I'm so frustrated by this. So many string players, they just don't articulate in Haydn, and it drives me crazy. I was wondering, such a singer like her, it's for my ears, is absolutely not out of style or old school. It's a certain quality which is, for me at least, today still incredible. So I was wondering how that changed different tastes or style in singing, because when I hear a cellist played from the 50s, he or she plays with such a different technique, and today's taste is just completely different.
So I think there's two things here. One is the way that people get taught. So back in the 1950s and before, you would not sing an aria till you were like 20. But when you hit 20, then you actually went on stage and you started singing small roles, and then started doing bigger ones and bigger ones.
Okay.
And I think the problem is that now everything is so much faster. You know, you need to be a star at 25. Instead of people being interested in something that's truly like full of quality and really amazing, they want to see like a 25-year-old Barbie doll singing a nice song. You know, they're not really so interested, I think, in the quality anymore. And so people don't spend the time as students just really refining a lot. I think that's a problem. And I also think that people's tastes have changed. What people used to do, I think, was that they would do more classical repertoire, so like Mozart and lots of Handel. But now people, because they're in such a rush, opera singers, they sing a lot of things like Puccini and Verdi quite early. Yeah. And this is a completely different way of singing. You know, when I was talking about appoggio,
yes,
when you sing Verdi and Puccini, it's so much more intense, and you use your vocal cords much more, because there's just so many more instruments to sing over, and it's just bigger music. So people do that earlier, and then they don't get the quality singing from singing the earlier repertoire. It's just the way that people dress and the way that people talk. As a society in general, we're much more casual. So like in my parents' time, I would never call someone older than me by their first name. I would always call them Mr. So-and-so and Mrs. So-and-so. But now we go, hey Mark, hey Zhenya, how's it going? You know, like it's so much more casual. And I think, you know, in particular, like things like Mozart, which are they're very emotional, but they're very stylized, like you're saying. That somehow maybe we're getting further away from that, and it's harder for us to fit into that. Perhaps, I don't know. Just a thought.
I had a conversation with Mr. Brendel, and he said he's genuinely surprised that today he can hear so many actually great performers from younger people playing late Beethoven works, and he thinks they understand it somehow better, but they have no clue how to play early works by Beethoven and Mozart. And he was wondering why that is. Maybe also these times are so depressing that everyone is feeling more related to late Beethoven. And I mean, also late Beethoven is so modern.
I think we have lost this formalness, and I think there's a certain elegance that comes with being sort of formal and balanced and all of that. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
People should leave comments, and we should have a discussion about it.
Yeah. No, also generally, I feel we lost so much elegance and charm in our playing because we are concerned about the volume and
I know, but look at people's conversations now. People's conversations are like emoji. You know, like once upon a time, people would sit and they would write on a piece of paper in their own handwriting, and okay, it took a lot longer to get there, but perhaps by having to slow down, you know, it's something that people can think about longer and form more complicated and elegant ideas and thoughts. I'm not being able to travel all the time. I've thought about what's important to me and in my life, and a lot more like internal cleaning up, if you know what I mean. Not just the garage. The garage is done too. Everyone in Australia has been cleaning out their garages. It's really funny. It's really extreme. So my husband is also a performer, Vova. He's a conductor. And up until now, we've been pretty lucky that I've been working and he's been with Floria, our daughter, or he's been working and I've been with her. What I come back from being, you know, a soloist or, you know, the star or whatever. And then I come back into full-on Hausfrau, cooking and cleaning, and you know, it takes a couple of days of readjusting. But I think the great thing about having a family is that no matter how the concert goes, I come home and I'm a mum no matter how I do, you know. We've been spending a lot of time here, a lot of time. And you know, we didn't have any childcare, so you know, we had parents to help out sometimes, but we've been with her 24/7, and that makes it really hard to do consistent practice.
Yeah.
So we haven't been doing much practice, but funnily enough, with the voice, of course, there's like a fluency that you need to have. But I find when I have like a month not singing, yes, I think it was about a month I haven't sung. When your body has a rest, it's good for your voice. Whereas like as a cellist or a violinist or a pianist, where you have to do lots of technical fingering, I think it's much harder to have a lot of time off.
Actually, so similar to athletes. We have all these small muscles, and if I don't play for 1 week because I have a break, then they feel like the legs of a newborn giraffe, you know? Like
yeah, totally. Your fingers are like my diaphragm. So my diaphragm, I start to sing and it's like, ooh, what are you doing to me? I've forgotten what this is like.
I never had more than a week off.
Wow. Part of live performance is that you come to this beautiful theater or some place and it's special, and there's like everybody getting together, and you know, you put on a dress or whatever and curl your hair, and it's got some sort of like feeling of magic about it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in your pajamas in your living room, it's like, it's not magical, sorry. And it's on the internet for eternity. Yeah. In Australia, I think from this Friday, 10 people can gather together. So, you know, if it's a cellist and a pianist, then you can have 8 people in the audience.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be a big concert hall, but there's just some sort of feeling of formality. It's a separation between this is
every day and this is special.
Yeah.
And when people come to a concert, it's something special. And when we can have that feeling, it doesn't take that many people, but, you know, then we can have that feeling again. Put in more or less effort because there's more or less people. But just as long as there's somebody there to receive what you are communicating, that's what I think is the important thing. And I think when you're doing it to a camera, even if there's an online audience, I'm not sure. But hang in there. We'll get there soon.
I really hope so.
Meanwhile, you can practice singing in the shower. Crescendo.
I really put this idea in your head now.
I wanna hear the audio, okay? I don't want to see the video. Isn't it the Kodai method that they had to do a lot of singing, and that's all. I think, you know, music is about your ears, and, you know, singing is the most basic form of music making. So, you know, it's listening to yourself and listening to others and singing. It's good. Singing is good for everyone. Simplest thing done really well is just fantastic. It's very healthy. And I think getting back to basics in general at the moment is a really good thing.
Okay, let's finish on that. I'm so happy we talked.
Me too. It's been too long.
You are so inspiring.
You too. And thanks for doing this, because it's just nice to have a chat about interesting musical ideas and artistic ideas. And yeah, it's nice. Nice not to just think about what's for dinner. It's good to have a bit of internal work that goes on, because next time we do have the chance to express ourselves, to give something, we'll have thought of a lot more.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Well, glad to see you. Stay healthy. Greetings to your wonderful family.
Yeah. Stay safe. Send my love to your parents.
I will.
And we'll talk soon, okay?
Yes, we will play soon.
Pussy. Bye.
18.